Yes, again, thank you for joining us. And we've got some questions to answer. And please do put them in the chat if anybody else has got any. Joe, we're going to start with if someone is concentrating on north of Portugal, should they try to find a strictly local lender?
First of all, hi guys, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. There's no need to find a local lender. We will get your mortgage anywhere in Portugal, whether it be in the Algarve, in Lisbon, in Porto, anywhere we can deal with the banks. We can get your mortgage anywhere you purchase. If you're going to look up in the north for property, obviously get hold with us because we work with other partner agencies, and they can help get you the property. If you find a property, it doesn't have to be with a local broker. We can do it for you.
Do you give mortgages to people who are retired and not earning money but can prove their net worth is substantial?
I don't give mortgages. The banks give mortgages. I'd love to give mortgages. I give everybody a mortgage if I could, but the banks do look at things like that. They obviously feel more comfortable if you have a stable income, all right. But if you are retired and you're on a pension, they do look at that. You obviously need like I mentioned in the video, you do need a pension letter stating that you are currently retired and you're receiving so much a month. Some banks look at assets. If you have properties that are paid up already, if you've got properties that you're renting out that generate an income, they do look at that.
If a husband and wife purchase property jointly, which age is used in figuring out how long a mortgage the bank will make?
Unfortunately, they take the oldest into account. So they work on the oldest age up to the year that person turns 80 or 75, depends on the banks.
Please discuss the various ways for someone over 70 years old to secure a residential loan in Portugal.
What we've done before is we put it on a child's name or something, and we can get you as a 70-year-old parent to sign as a guarantor for that property.
If I'm retired and have only social security income, what do I need to have in assets to be approved?
Look, it all depends on the value of the mortgage. The banks will look at your assets as a whole, and they will say you are entitled to purchase a property of so much. You remember, by law in Portugal, you have to put down 20% deposit. So the banks will look at property value minus the 20%. That is your finance available, all right? And are you capable of repaying those costs, those monthly costs?
Do the interest rates change based on loan duration?
Look, obviously, the longer the interest rate, the longer the period, the easier it becomes to get a lower rate. Okay, but it doesn't change drastically. When I say average of 0.7, 0.8, it's pretty much on par. This week I managed to get one at 0.519, which was an awesome rate again, but it was because it was a 30-year period again. So obviously, the longer the period, the easier it is to get a lower interest rate, because that's where the banks make money. If you've got a short period of 10 years, the banks don't make as much money as if your period is 30 years.
Okay. Are the forms in PDF and can be submitted electronically, or do they need to have to be paper copies?
Look, we thought of these things. So we've got PDF files and we've got Word documents. I've had a couple of clients where I've sent them a PDF and they can't print it, so they ask for the Word so they can actually do the updates on screen and then send it back to me. That works. I can send it to you on PDF. I can send it to you on a Word document. You can fix it complete on a Word document, send it back to me as Word, and I'll transfer it to a PDF.
And can we just go over the penalties for early paying the mortgage off, please, Joe?
Look, unfortunately, that's something that we have to accept. There are penalties for early repayments. If you're on a variable rate, the penalty is 0.5% of the amount that you're paying off. Not of the mortgage, not of the entire mortgage, of the amount that you're paying off. If you're on a fixed rate, the penalty is 2% of the amount that you're paying off. I'll give you an example. If you're paying an extra 10,000 euros, 0.5 on a variable would be 50 euros penalty. And if you're paying off 10,000 on a fixed rate, the penalty would be 200 euros.
It's really good, really good. Does Portugal banks borrow to citizens of other countries?
Look, but over the past couple of months, the majority of our clients are foreign investors. So the banks in Portugal are pretty consistent. They paint everybody with the same brush. So whether you are a local, a Portuguese citizen, or you're from abroad, they will look at you in the same light. They will grant you a mortgage, whether you're a Portuguese resident or a foreign investor.
Can you explain why it is necessary to get a fiscal number as a condition for getting approval?
Look, you have to have a fiscal number if you're in Portugal. All right, the NIF number, which can be obtained by our lawyer Ricardo if you are not in the country. That's necessary for everything you do in Portugal. If to live in Portugal, to survive, to go anywhere, to pay anything, you need a NIF number. That's on your basic card.
Okay. What about short-term loans for retirees, like 50,000 over 5 years, for example?
Minimum mortgages are 60,000. The banks will not do anything less than 60,000. We can do a 60,000 over 5 years. It's entirely up to you guys. But the thing is, the shorter the period, the higher the monthly installments.
Is it possible to get a mortgage offer before finding a property to buy?
You can't get a formal mortgage before you find the property, because the mortgage requires property documents. We can get you a pre-approval, all right, which would give us a notion of how much you can look at property-wise. Once we find a property, then we'll take it to the formal mortgage, which will take about 4 to 6 weeks, like I mentioned, and then we'll need the property documents, which is what we call in Portugal a caderneta perdial, which will have all the documentation which the bank requires.
We always say it is a good idea to get a pre-approval before you find the property, because that way you know exactly how much you can spend.
Exactly.
So when you're looking for the property, it limits your time wasted if you're looking for something that actually you can't afford, or something less than what you can afford.
Yeah,
so
you'll find something that you're comfortable with.
Yeah. What is involved with putting a mortgage in an adult son's name to extend the years allowed?
It's basically the same process for somebody that's 60 or 70 years old. You put it in your son's name or your daughter's name, up to you guys. You'll require all their documentation, which would be the normal stuff, the credit reports, the pay slips, the bank statements, all the fun stuff that comes with mortgages. You will need the same thing for yourself as a guarantor.
Okay. Can you get interest-only mortgages?
Unfortunately, Portuguese banks are very conservative and they don't do that. I know in the UK, you have a lot of banks that offer interest-only mortgages. In Portugal, it's principal plus interest, normal mortgage.
Someone's saying that the interest rates that we mention can be lower than what they've actually been presented with. So they've got 0.8 to 0.9% considering fixed or variable interest. If fixed, how long for? So it does vary, doesn't it, Joe? I mean, it's like you can get them, but circumstances and things does make a difference.
It all depends on the period, the amounts. What we do is when we get a pre-approval, we pass it on to all the banks. We obviously deal with the banks and we get better rates, as much the best rates possible. I will forward all the information that we receive from the various banks. Then we decide on a bank to go with. When it comes to fixed rates, the longer you fix it, the higher the interest rate. So if you fix it for 10 years, you're looking at an interest rate of 1.1, 1.2%. If you fix it for 30 years, I had an interest rate not too long ago for 30 years at 1.95%.
A question here, I'm not quite sure if I'm understanding it, so we might have to contact you individually. Like to purchase a property with a 50% loan for 5 years, can show income well over property value, is over 75 years and a pensioner. Okay, I get that. And he's asking if that would be possible.
Look, it's possible as long as your mortgage is over 60,000. When we say you're 75, we'll only look at probably 1 or 2 banks that will grant you up to 80. There are banks that grant you up to 70, 75, so it's not worth even approaching it.
Sorry.
Would you like a glass of wine, Ange?
Yeah, I'd love a glass of wine. It's getting to that time, I think. This one, I think the next one we've already covered. It's about older than 70 and wants to use their child as their named applicant for the mortgage. By the parent, then does the bank require the child to provide their personal documents to apply and qualify for the loan? I think we just covered that. Do you mind getting me my water, please, Sandy? Sorry. I've got a frog in my throat. What about the life insurance requirements? And is term life okay?
Look, banks, it's mandatory. You have to have life insurance when you apply for a mortgage. It's mandatory. You have to do it. Banks do supply life insurances. However, we find that the life insurance supplied by the banks is a lot more expensive. We do have our contacts that will go and give you quotes on life insurances, obviously on the amounts, and if it's a death insurance, if it's just disability insurance, there's different quotes. Your insurance should cover the mortgage amount, and the bank has to be signed as a beneficiary.
Okay. What are the interest rates right now, and what are the plans for those to increase in Portugal within the next year? The terms are fixed interest for 40 years, question mark. Is there a particular loan amount threshold required? What is required besides income? I came on late, so I've never received the link until after 12. Okay, so yeah, we have covered a lot of that, but don't worry, anybody that's coming in late, we are recording this and it will go out. You will be able to see it on YouTube and you'll be able to catch up on anything, but I think most of that we have actually covered. But Joe will get back to you if there's anything that we haven't covered on there.
Yeah, look, if there's any queries, if you've joined late or something like that, feel more than welcome to get in touch with me, and I can run it through again with you if you don't want to watch the recorded video.
Okay. How risky is it to buy something only partially built? I would imagine that's on a mortgage.
Look, it's not risky depending on who you deal with. I mean, we at Ideal Homes only deal with accredited developers. So we won't even show you properties that we're not comfortable with. The developers that we deal with are known and not guaranteed, but they are somebody that we feel comfortable with showing our clients and that we are prepared to put our name to.
Is there a problem with paying cash for a home purchase?
There's no problem. I wouldn't do it, but there's no problem. I mean, but with the interest rate we've got at the moment, I would definitely keep the money in the bank and use the bank's money to get a property.
Can I add on that, Angela? Hi, everyone. I'm Christina. I'm the director of Ideal Homes, and I work very closely with Jose in the mortgage department. One of the good things about the mortgage side of things and not a cash buy is because the bank are financing the purchase, the banks need to make sure that everything, all the documents are correct, or the square meters on the documents are correct. When Jose sends your documentation, he also, as he's mentioned, has to send the property documents. So with the mortgage, they make sure that everything is legal, everything is fine. And of course, with the low interest rates. So it's better to, in my personal opinion at least, it's better to use the bank not only because of the interest rate, but also because they make sure that everything is correct with the documents and with the property. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jose, going back to the other question where there was mentioning the 0.8, 0.9%, they was saying to get those, was you considering fixed or variable?
The 0.8, 0.9 is on a variable rate. I can guarantee you're not going to get 0.8 on a fixed rate. Fixed rates, like I mentioned, you're looking at starting at 1.1, 1.2%, all the way up to about 1.9, 1.2%.
Okay. Is it possible to get a mortgage with only 10% deposit?
You have to be a Portuguese citizen, Portuguese resident to get a 90% mortgage. I'm not saying it's impossible. It is a little bit difficult, but it's doable.
Can I be the guarantor on a loan for another family member? I don't have kids, but do have nieces and nephews.
As long as you can provide an income and you have got the capabilities of being a guarantor, by all means.
If two people are on the mortgage, do both need life insurance?
Some banks require a 50-50 life insurance, or you can get one life insurance that covers the complete mortgage amount.
So if they both need it, and one's healthy and one has health issues, will that affect the rate?
It probably won't affect the rate, but it will affect your monthly repayments on your life insurance.
But that's also, we take case by case, because there is a bank that requires only one person on the life insurance. It just depends on the situation and age and all that, but it is possible to get it on one applicant.
Is a life insurance policy that I have in the UK okay to cover the bank's requirements in Portugal?
Some banks accept policies from overseas. Majority of them require for a policy to be taken here in Portugal. That is why we've got certain companies that we work with and personnel that we work with that will send you quotes. In all the cases that people have got life insurance overseas, I ask them to send me a proof. I then go to the bank and I say, listen, is this life insurance suitable for you guys? If they say yes, then all we have to do is just put the bank as a beneficiary for the amount. If not, then we get a life insurance here in Portugal.
Can you clarify that the longer the period of the loan, the lower the rate?
Look, it's not guaranteed. There's not much that's guaranteed in life, but it's easier to get a lower rate the longer the period.
Okay, so someone's asking, do Portuguese banks issue loans for yacht purchases or yacht port with yacht club facilities?
Unfortunately not. We do habitational, because if that's the case, I can guarantee you that a lot of our Portuguese clients would buy yachts and do their own fishing and spend a lot of time at sea.
Is it still okay to rent out a mortgaged property?
Sorry, what was that?
It's like, I think it's saying that if they buy property on a mortgage, they are able to rent it out.
Yeah, of course.
That's
majority of our investors at the moment are doing that. They're purchasing property, one or two properties, and they rent it out, and that pays the mortgage off month by month.
Okay, so someone's asking, do you work with US mortgage companies that may lend to US citizens who are also Portugal residents purchasing property in Portugal? Because this will allow people over 70 to not be age discriminated for a mortgage.
Look, I've never done it. I've never done it. I only deal with the Portuguese banks, but you know what? I'm prepared to sit and let's work at something. I mean, the idea is that we get you a property and that you are comfortable with, and we at Ideal Homes, we do whatever's necessary, whatever's possible to get it for you.
Yeah, generally, as what my experience is, that you can't get a mortgage from another country onto a property in another country,
Portugal,
but
exactly.
you can get, say, like what you call it, release out of your house, money out of your
yeah,
house to get a mortgage.
equity release.
But yeah, equity release, yeah. But then you'll be paying the interest rates of that country, which
that
is
country.
generally higher.
Exactly.
Do I need to be a guarantor for my daughter who is 22 and makes very good money?
Not at all. 22, she's able to look after herself. Okay, and I guarantee you she's in good hands if she deals with us at Hardy Homes.
On pre-construction purchase, delivery scheduled in 2 years, when does one apply for the mortgage?
We normally start 2 months before the completion date. We are currently at the moment looking after Santa Maria and Adega. That's been completed now at the end of July. When I say it takes 4 to 6 weeks, that is why we start 2 months before. So it gives us enough time to get everything finalized by the time of handover, because the last thing we need is the last week to be running around and trying to get mortgage documents and that, because that's when you start making mistakes. So if we give us 2 months, gives us enough time. If we have to ask for other documents, a little bit of a delay or something, we've got some time to play with. So normally 2 months before completion.
Once the mortgage has been approved by the bank, it's valid for 2 months. If for some reason a property is a bit delayed and we go over that 2 months, it's not a problem at all. All we have to do then is send the updated documents, so the last bank statement, pay slip, send it off to the bank again, and then get the approval again.
Okay, so I think this next one is a bit of a confusion between golden visa and a mortgage. So if you pay over 500k, are we entitled to residency, or do I need a mortgage of 500,000 k?
If you're applying for golden visa, you cannot mortgage for the first 500k. All right, so the first 500k has to be cash. If you buy a property of 600, you can mortgage the 100,000. As long as your first 500 is cash brought in by you into the country, we can mortgage anything over and above the 500,000.
And the golden visa then eventually gives you residency.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the consequences of someone becoming a guarantor? In particular, does that lower the credit score of the guarantor?
Look, if you make your payments on a monthly basis and you keep your nose clean, I don't see how it can affect your credit score. I don't foresee it at all.
If you intend to rent out your home, does that change the interest rate? In the US, there are higher rates for investment properties.
No, we get the same rate for everybody. If you rent it out and you make an income, good for you, and it pays off your mortgage. The banks are not interested in that. They're interested in getting the monthly required payment.
Okay, so we're going to come to an end soon. So if anybody's got any questions, please put them in chat. I was unaware of the age 70 issue. Is that a requirement to be under 70, or does it just make it harder to get?
If you are 70, we can get you a mortgage up to the year to 90. So your period would be 10 years. If you have a 10-year period, your monthly installment is going to be a little bit high. That's when we say put it in your child's name, and you can sign as a guarantor, and you can add yourself onto the deeds at a later stage.
Is the required life insurance amount the same as the mortgage balance?
Yeah, it has to cover the mortgage amount, the finance amount.
They were saying it seems like the insurance premiums could be substantial, therefore offsetting the low interest rates. But if you can explain again, it's not about the life insurance and how that works.
Look, the thing is, you like I said, it's mandatory to have a life insurance to start the process to get a mortgage. You can cancel it at a later stage. If you cancel the life insurance, they're going to increase your interest rate by 0.25%. Okay, we've seen it before where your monthly payment on a life insurance is probably 123 euros, And if we took the penalty of 0.25 onto the interest rate, the monthly repayment went up by 50 something euros. So it didn't make sense for the gentleman that had life insurance overseas to pay the 123 euros life insurance here in Portugal, where the penalty, the 0.25 penalty was just 50 euros. So he cancelled the life insurance and he took the penalty of 0.25 on his monthly
Okay.
rate.
And also just to add to that quickly, Angela, the banks that require life insurance is a bank that finances 80%. The banks that finance 70% don't require life insurance. And as Jose said, with the banks of 80% that do require life insurance, you can cancel it at any time, which will just put up the interest rate by 0.25.
Thank you. So yeah, we're getting a couple of questions coming through for rentals. So next week we will be doing the same as this, but on rentals. So if you want to sign up for that, please look out for it, and we'll be able to answer all your questions that anything to do with rentals on that webinar. So if I don't have a child and I'm 74, any other options?
Doesn't have to be a child. Can be a nephew, niece, anybody. Can be a friend, can be a family friend, somebody that you trust, and somebody that is willing to do it with you.
Sorry, hang on. What is minimum credit score to get a good rate? And do Portuguese banks use the FICO 8 score, or what, American score or foreign score?
Look, it doesn't mean that if you've got a credit rating of 500 or 600 that you can't get a mortgage. The banks will look at it anyway. With regards to credit ratings, credit reports, the banks will look at most credit reports. We normally deal with Equinox and Experian. That's the two most common ones. But your credit rating of about 600 to 700, even over 800 is perfect. Banks will definitely look at that.
Very similar question, and I think we've covered some of this. If I'm 70 but my partner is only 65, are we able to get a mortgage?
You can get it even on the 70. I would put it on the 65-year-old partner, and you as a 70-year-old partner would sign as a guarantor if necessary.
Or you
Okay.
could take it out just in one name and then add the other person onto the deed after.
There's lots of ways around lots of things.
Yeah, which would prolong the term, and then just add somebody else on after.
Okay. So yes, I think we've covered everybody's questions there. And if anybody has got any more questions, if they want to contact Jose, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer them one-on-one. We are recording this video, so you will be able to look at that as well. So if anything that you want to look back on, and just to make sure we haven't covered it, and then contact Jose. If not, please do. And like I say, next week we are coming back with rentals, so we'll be going through the rental department and what that means to everybody. And thank you for joining us today. I hope you got some good information out of that. Well done, Jose, doing a fantastic job. And I know right now it's very overwhelming because we have got a lot of mortgages. I mean, I'm sure everybody understands they are so good that everybody's wanting one. So well done on that, Joe. And thank you for today.
Thank you so much, guys. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.